Yo, what's up guys? This is Stefan with freedomacademyhq.com, and today we're going to learn how to stop thinking negatively. Let's get into it. Okay, what's up guys? In case you don't know who I am, I'm Stefan Gonville. I own this website called freedomacademyhq.com where I help people overcome their shyness and social anxiety. I created a video course just for you. It took me a long time to do this. It's the 5 biggest myths about social anxiety that are still believed today and that are keeping you stuck. This slashed my anxiety in half. If you want to go see the video, you can access it by clicking that button right there. It's going to take you straight to it. Also, if you haven't done so already, make sure to hit the subscribe button for videos on this topic. Okay, so how to stop negative thinking. So negative thinking is something that I used to struggle with so freaking much. Okay, just like you, I was brought up to believe that negative thoughts meant that I was doing life wrong. But in fact, most people think that negative thinking is something that they must avoid at all costs. So chances are that if you're looking at this video right now, you're probably looking for a solution that's gonna stop your negative thinking altogether. But if you just allow me a few moments of your time, I'll show you why your quest for complete freedom from negative thoughts is actually a fallacy and what you should do instead. Okay, dude, so listen. If you want to learn how to stop negative thinking, there's 2 things you need to understand, okay? The first one is that negative thinking is a natural thing to have, and it's one of humans' most valuable assets, okay? In society today, negative thinking gets a really bad rap that it doesn't deserve at all. In fact, there's a staggering amount of information on the internet and in books that that make us think that if we're thinking negatively, that we're broken or that we're doing life wrong. But this couldn't be further from the truth, okay? What most people fail to understand is that negative thinking is actually one of our most useful survival mechanisms, and it saved our lives for hundreds of thousands of years, okay? Heck, it saved your life like 100 times last week, way more than that. It saved your life 100 times today. Just think about it. Why didn't you cross the street on the red light when cars were coming by? So some people might tell you that it's a healthy concern for my well-being, but that's just a fancy way of saying that it was negative thinking, okay? Negative thinking is actually the brain's ability to quickly imagine the worst case scenario possible, and it's putting it in the forefront of your mind, okay? So this sometimes it doesn't feel good, but it's just trying to help you. This is just your brain trying to help you, okay? So human beings are bound to think negatively because this is how we're wired. We can't override this. When we try to stop negative thinking, we're actually going against our very nature, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing to understand is that stopping negative thinking is actually a battle that we cannot win, okay? Negative thoughts will show up from time to time for our entire freaking lives, dude, okay? So this might not feel super good, but let me explain why this is actually a good thing. We cannot reach a point where negative thinking no longer shows up, okay? But what we can do is learn how to greatly reduce the effect it has on us and how to prevent going down a negative spiral. This is what this article is all about. So all the techniques listed in this article have to do with something called taut diffusion. It's a concept developed by the creators of ACT, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, that seeks to see thoughts for what they are, just thoughts, instead of fusing with them and what they imply. It's backed by decades of research, and it's quickly gaining grounds as one of the most effective ways of overcoming negative thinking. Also, I can see in my own life that it helped the most. I've tried numerous things, and this is what helped the best for me. Okay, so technique number 1 is unhooking from your mind machine by tanking it. Your mind machine is what we call the part of your brain that creates all the thoughts that you think. Most of the time, we are unaware that this is working 24/7, constantly producing thoughts every day and non-stop. Most people believe that the roots of their suffering, whether it be social anxiety or depression, is thinking negatively. But that's not the case. The truth is that thoughts are nothing more than just words and images that are created by your brain. Thoughts are not tangible and they cannot hurt you. The problem arises when we forget to see thoughts for what they are, just thoughts. Unhooking from thoughts or diffusing from them is when we take a step back and do exactly that. Instead of fusing with what the thoughts imply, we snap ourselves out and distance ourselves from it. We say, thanks mind machine, thanks for doing what you do best, create thoughts. The truth is that we cannot stop our brains from doing what it is meant to do. Our brains are thought creating machines, and it can be very easy to fall in the trap of believing every single thought that your brain creates. But we simply do not have to entertain every single thoughts that come into our brain. We can unhook from them simply by realizing that thoughts can only have power over us if we let them. Unhooking from thoughts means that we prevent ourselves from fusing with what the thought implies. For example, if you're on your way to a social event and you have the negative thought, oh my god, I'm freaking out, everybody's going to think I'm a weirdo. Fusing with the thought would mean that you believe the thought, and as a result, you feel an elevated amount of anxiety. But unhooking or diffusing from the thought would mean that you see the negative thought for what it is, just words and images produced by your brain, not a glimpse into the future. A simple way to diffuse our thought is thanking our brain, your mind machine, for doing its job correctly. So it might go something like this. Hey, I'm noticing that my brain is telling me that I look like a weirdo. It's doing its job perfect. Thanks, mind. Or something like, my brain is telling me that I look like a weirdo. This is just my evolutionary survival mechanism trying to help me. Thanks, but no thanks. I'll take it from here. Thanks, mind. This allows us to look at the situation for what your mind machine is. Just thoughts created. Nothing more, nothing less. Just because your brain tells you that something is going to go wrong doesn't mean that it's accurate. Okay, so the second technique is called catching and labeling the thoughts. So instead of trying to eradicate your negative thinking, another technique that you could use instead, which is meant to deal with the thoughts instead of trying to just get rid of it, which we cannot do, like I explained earlier. This is a really good way of dealing with it, and it's my personal favorite also. So what is catching and labeling the thoughts? So basically, when I catch myself thinking negatively, I'm able to recognize that my brain is just going loco and it's doing its thing. It's thinking negatively. It's trying to help me. It's showing me all that can go wrong. So I recognize that, and then I can actually pause when I do recognize. So that's step number one. I recognize, okay, hey, I'm thinking negatively right now. That's number one. Second, I pause, and then I ask myself this question: what thought is my brain gonna create next? This is really important, okay? And it works like almost every time. It's actually really hard to learn at first, but it works for me, and I think it can do the same for you. So when the thought, when you ask yourself the question, what's the next thought that my brain's gonna create, you're gonna sit there and then you're gonna just wait and try and catch the next thought. So by catching, what I mean is I want you to see it in your mind as if it was written. Like, oh, okay, so I just thought that, I don't know, oh, that person walks funny or something. So that's your next thought. And then when you the labeling part is that you're going to describe the type of thought that you just had, okay? So let's say that you just had the thought, I'm a freaking loser and everybody's gonna think I'm a weirdo at the party. So then you catch the thought and then you label the thought. So this thought is self-criticism, you know? you're criticizing yourself. Maybe another thought could be like, let's say the thought I used earlier, like you just have a random thought, oh, that person kind of walks funny. That's a judgmental thought. That's the type of thought it is, you know? Maybe you think, I'm never gonna amount to anything. So that maybe it's like a depressed thought, you know? So you basically, you catch the thought, and then what you do is you label it. So what this does is that when you do this process, it automatically takes you out of the negative thinking spiral, and it automatically brings you back to reality. Because when you do this, when you catch the thought and you label it, you're actually realizing that it's just a thought that was created by your brain and it's not reality. You're actually like looking at what your brain is doing. Okay guys, so technique number 3 is called using negative thoughts as a way to initiate deep breathing. So what does this mean? Well, actually, most people don't know this, but there's actually a way that you can use your negative thinking to start a deep breathing practice, and this is extremely effective. Okay, you're basically turning your negative thoughts and your negative thinking in on its head. You're using it to your advantage. So the way it works is that you can use your negative thinking to your advantage by turning your focus on your breathing every time that you catch yourself thinking negatively. To do this, you have to switch your goal from how to stop negative thinking to how to use my negative thinking, where instead of trying to eliminate negative thinking altogether, your aim becomes to notice when you are falling into negative thinking and use it as a calling for deep breathing. So every time that you catch yourself thinking negatively, pause and use it as an alarm to take one full, deep, slow breath. Okay? And this deep, slow breath is actually going to make you way more relaxed. Okay? So you're basically turning it on its head, because whereas usually negative thinking would make you turn into a spiral of more anxiety or just more bad feelings, now every time that you catch yourself thinking negatively, you're actually using it and you're going deeper into your breath, which is going to relax you. Okay, here's exactly how I do it. Once I have caught myself thinking negatively, I immediately start focusing on the sensation of the air coming into my nose and as I breathe in. Okay, then I focus on the sensation of the air coming out through my mouth as I exhale. Yeah. So I purposefully take a slow and deep breath to do this. This is crucial, okay? So it's important to try and have all of your undivided attention on the sensations of the air coming in through your nose and out through your mouth creates. Doing this will steer your focus away from negative thoughts, allowing you to slowly start feeling more relaxed. Okay, so you're not getting rid of the thoughts, but you're actually using the thoughts. Also, doing this is a great way to practice meditation, as each and every breath that you successfully focus on will make it slightly more easier. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and go download my free video course that I created. It's on the 5 biggest myths about social anxiety and how you can debunk them. See you next time.